as a follow-up to my 5 favorite exercises, let's talk about, you can put that leg up there. Let's talk about, I don't want to call them bad exercises. Let's talk about exercises that you probably shouldn't do. Least valuable exercises, not terrible. All strength is good, but some exercises are better than others. So in your opinion, what's that exercise that you see a lot of people do that doesn't help arm wrestling, but everybody does it?
Curls?
Excellent! I was going to hit that as number 2. Heavy bicep curls. Okay? You see a lot of people doing them and they're impressive. It's sexy to see those big heavy bicep curls. They do not transfer to arm wrestling. If you are hooking, and there's a couple of different hooks, one way of hooking is you get wrist to wrist and you drag back. When we are dragging back, once again, you get wrist to wrist. Let me remove this for those of you following at home. When you are wrist to wrist and you are dragging back, you are not repping your bicep. Your bicep is just holding your arm closed. Most of the work is coming from your torso when you're dragging back, and your rib and your shoulder is driving most of the direction that way. A lot of it is into your hand, not so much your fingers, but your hand, because you can actually do a dragging hook and open your fingers. Okay? Your bicep is just stabilizing that growth. You are not just loosen up. You are not bicep curling into a hook like those heavy bicep curls would do. The other thing is biceps build a lot of mass on your arm, and they actually probably prevent you from closing your elbow as much. So that's the dragging hook. Okay? Even if you do a side pressure hook, even then the force is still coming from your shoulder and you are driving this way. You line this lower part of your forearm up with the direction of the force and you shove it this way. If, for instance, you get me over and I'm here, now I'm full on my bicep. Okay? This is usually a losing spot for most people. And most people getting here that try to bicep curl up is bad. A good trick is if you get somebody on their bicep, like Will has me, he's still dragging me back to open it. But what he could do is go straight down to the center of the table, and that forces me to try to basically hammer curl or preacher bench curl his whole weight up. So your biceps are saving you, but you're in a terrible position. You'd be better off rolling your arm over, taking that force off that bicep, putting it back into the direction of that bone and digging your arm out that way. Another trick, if Will's got me back on his bicep, what John does really good at is try to roll that back out again. Again, this is just locked in, you're dropping your weight, but you're not actually pulling on your bicep. Let's see, the dragging hook, that hook, yeah. And what we alluded to just a second ago, another type of hook is if Will's going to be a top roller and he's loading up, what I'll do is you can float your elbow up and on go, visualize opening your hand and dropping straight down. Okay? He's actually on his bicep a little unless he rolls his hand out, but if I get him curled like this, he's now on his bicep and I'm going straight down. So, heavy duty bicep curls are sexy, big peaky biceps are sexy, not for their arm wrestle. There's a lot of people in the losers brackets with 100-kilogram bicep curl lifts in their repertoire. All right, good job. Name another one.
What about like the captains of the crush things? Is that anything?
That was going to be number 3. Hold on just a second. I should have gotten it. Yes, grippers. There's a captain's of crush 3. I spent years trying to close it. Here's a 4. The 4 is in like new condition. I've never closed it. I think Vidget closed that the first time he ever picked it up.
Wow.
And I think he's closed a 4. I can't close either one of them. I spent years trying to. But the thing with grippers is people who can close these is pretty cool. That is an amazing feat of strength, especially the 4. The issue with grippers is they're training your hand to rep closed. When you are arm wrestling, you don't rep your grip. You close your grip under 0 load, and then you just hold it. It's just locked in. Grippers are teaching you to contract that. The other thing they do is they put your fingers in this position when you try to close it. This is not the position that you arm wrestle in. So, I'm not saying grippers are bad. I'm just saying you do not have to waste your time training grippers for arm wrestling. The other thing you'll see is people who get good at it, their wrists almost go back when they close it. Ideally, when you're arm wrestling, your wrist it starts here, but your wrist is always in this position. It's actually harder to close a gripper when your hand is in this angle, right? But once again, I don't know, can you close the 3?
I've gotten it.
I've gotten it to where if I looked really close, the interference pattern between the handles looks like a close.
No,
but
I got small hands too.
Yeah.
I've done the 2 and then maybe the 2.5. But
my brothers bought me the trainer, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, plus the straps, plus a little book. I had all of it. My brothers really supported the arm wrestling. I would go out to my gym in South Carolina like every night, and I'd just do gripper work. Like I said, I got to where if I held it up to the light, I couldn't see light between it, but I could never hear it click.
Yeah.
You know.
What is it? If you hold a credit card in between or something like that, that's considered.
Well, yeah, I think you're supposed to. What I understood was you can load it in your hand, then you put the credit card here to make. Then you start.
Oh, okay.
But people who can close it, they'll close it and they'll grind it together. Yeah. I could never close it. But yes, grippers for the same reason. All right. If you look at when you're in this position here, when you get a grip, my hand is in this position. Right. Even if I'm hooking and I'm down here, okay, my hand is in this position. Right. A gripper puts your hand in that position. So grippers will make your hand stronger, but it doesn't make you strong for arm wrestling. And the other thing with arm wrestling, what a lot of beginners do is they'll clamp down onto their opponent and they'll put all kinds of fingertip pressure right here and actually develop these white knuckles. So they squeeze, they squeeze, they squeeze. That makes them, that's an easy way of finding a beginner at a tournament. As soon as you feel that fingertip pressure, you know you got a beginner. You also know you put fingertip pressure on somebody, it's easy to top roll them. Right? Once those fingers are clamped, you can roll right into those fingers. Experienced arm wrestlers keep their fingers firm but relaxed. So then if the guy top rolls out, you can regrip, you can hold it. You train this cupping motion, but it's not this walnut crushing fingertip power, right? The wrist wrench will put your hand in a perfect position and it'll train cupping and pronating power. Because a wrist wrench, you have to control it so it doesn't roll out of your hand. Wrist wrench is 10 times more effective than grippers. But you folks that can close these grippers, man, I got a lot of respect for you because that is impressive. All right, so you're 2 for 2. 2 for 2. And we didn't have rehearsals, did we?
We did not.
We just walked right in.
Yeah.
Somebody's been watching my other videos. What's the other super popular exercise that has almost zero carryover to arm wrestling?
You got me there.
You're correct. Bench pressing. 3 for 3. You have to be in more of these videos. Bench pressing is a fundamental strength measurement. And almost everybody knows what their bench pressing numbers are. And all strength is good. Bench pressing strength is not as good as, say, rowing strength. Bench pressing, then you're going to say, well, Uncle Todd, it works in a press. No. All right, there's a couple of fundamental presses. One is the classic shoulder roll. You get your hand in, the shoulder comes in, and you push it down. You did not rep like you did at a bench. You locked your arm in, and then you lean on your arm with your body. If anything, the force comes from here, and you are just pushing it down. all you're really doing is keeping, you're stabilizing your hand side to side and you're using your body weight down. That bench press did not develop that. What I understand is the lower part of the bench press engages the chest, and then once it gets here, then your triceps take over. Triceps are very important to arm wrestling solely because they balance the bicep and stabilize in the elbow. But even then, you don't press by contracting your triceps. You know, even if you flop wrist press, okay, you are not pushing with your triceps. You lock that in and you are leaning on your body. Okay.
So it's like more of a static move.
It's a static move, and your arm is locked in, and you just don't ever engage your tricep. Another problem with bench press, not a problem, but another disadvantage to bench pressing is it builds a lot of mass. And if you're trying to add mass to go up in a weight class, that's good. Problem is it builds mass in your chest. All right? Those of you who have larger bellies like power lifters do, that big belly pushes you away from the table. So where a skinny guy can stand right here and be perfectly legal, if my belly pushes me away, that opens up my shoulder or it forces me to drag my arm back. Okay? Now, a lot of women already know this when you carry a lot of mass in your chest. Can you imagine Dolly Parton, right? Dolly Parton hits over, she's strong, now she hits a sticking point. In order to finish that match, she's got to come way out here, right? Or else she's going to have the girls all wedged up here, right? Same thing will happen with the guys. If you have a very developed chest and you come over here, you have to back up for that chest to clear that table. So geometrically, there's a disadvantage to building that mass up there.
When I first got in arm wrestling, I came from powerlifting, and 410 was my best bench, and I was terrible at arm wrestling.
I've never benched 400 in my life.
and now I'm like mid-threes, and I'm still terrible at arm wrestling. But I'm a lot skinnier now, and I can get a lot. That's, yeah, I never considered that.
And you'll say, but Uncle Todd, you do JM presses. That's true. They're not bench pressing, but JM presses specifically target these tendons, right? And it forces you, you're strengthening these tendons. You do get some carryover effect into your shoulders and your chest, but you're not building a lot of mass on your chest just because what you can JM press is significantly lower than what you can bench. And just the position your arms are in, it focuses more on your triceps. Big, strong triceps, balanced biceps are good for arm wrestling, but that big, those big chest muscles are not. Now, but Uncle Todd, so-and-so tore his pec arm wrestling. You hear that all the time. Usually, when you tear your pec, just like we covered in the bicep motion, so you get me sideways. If I'm in a good position here, my chest is loose. But if you get me out of whack and I'm square to the table and I'm on my bicep, and at this point I try to come over, or I try to engage that pec.
Right, okay.
Look how far away my pec is from my hand. There's almost zero leverage. That stresses that pec. That's where that pec tear will come from if you're all out of form. So if I'm arm wrestling way out of position, I try to lunge into it, it'll be bad. But if I can maintain my arm into the direction of the force, it unloads all these big muscles. Your back is still engaged, your shoulders, but it'll unload primarily your biceps and your chest. JM press is good, bench pressing, you're better off doing something else. So, don't quit your bicep, your chest, or your grippers, because I need more people in the loser's bracket. I'm just saying, if you want to meet me in the winner's bracket, the time you spend benching, heavy bicep curling, and grippers is better off spent doing rows, wrist wrench, JM presses, and deadlifting. Deadlifting makes everything better, but it does throw a lot of mass on somebody's body. So if you're worried about weight classes, stay out of deadlifting. Any other thoughts?
I feel like that covers it.
All right, there's a lot of other goofy stuff out there, but let's keep it short. Those three. Thanks, kids.
Goodbye.